Hey, I think we're live.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're a little late tonight. Or I guess I had some minor issues with work, and I had to. Well, that in itself is a long story, but I had to essentially drive back to work to try and fix something. But I couldn't actually get in the building um, because my security card, I guess, wasn't programmed right, and so I
Yeah,
couldn't.
well, that's a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, so I guess I can briefly explain it. So, what I typically do for work is I collect data using an electron microscope for different biology labs across the United States. And so I was monitoring the data collection for one of the labs tonight, and I found all the programs and stuff controlling that froze. So I tried to restart everything, but then it appeared as if by doing that, the communication between the computers and the microscope somehow got disrupted. So I tried calling all the other microscopists that I know to get their opinion about stuff. None of them answered. So then I drove like 35 minutes down to the building and then couldn't get in. And then I drove back. And now it's past midnight. So that worked out really well.
Yeah, that's kind of shitty. Well,
But
whatever. Nice to see you here, Warren, Sylvania.
yeah, good to see you. Um,
No reason to bitch about life, I guess. Let's bitch about Warhammer.
we're good at that.
I
um,
mean, maybe not all bitching. I mean, I'm
no.
sure we'll talk more about some of these new models and previews and stuff in like a um uh future podcast, that sort of thing. But I feel there's a bunch of stuff that we can at least talk about briefly. No worries. Like life often gets in the way. Ward Sylvania. Nice to see you back, though. Nice to see you back.
So actually, I know. So people have been clamoring a lot about some of the new Chaos miniatures and stuff, and while I'll admit I don't love all of the new stuff, I mean it's nice that they're finally making newer models. But one of the things that is interesting, like like on the Warhammer community site, they have like a post talking about some of the different heretic Astartes, like
The different trader legions.
legions and stuff, and they talk about some of like the main, like the original legions, like the Iron Warriors, Night Lords, Word Bearers, and stuff like that. And then they have like the renegades, and so like those, I think you're assuming those are like maybe some of the
Yeah.
newer Marine chapters that have converted. And so it's just kind of like interesting. Like I guess these newer like Black Legion models largely just fall under like the Renegades, or I guess also what they're just calling the Black Legion, which you'd almost sort of assume they're probably newer too, because like all of the armor and stuff they're wearing doesn't really look like it's like older variants of
Nah,
Marine
yeah, and I
armor.
feel that's somewhat of a missed opportunity. Like, because I feel most of these models, yeah, they just don't really fit what I would think of like Alpha Legion or Iron Warriors or Corn, like World Eaters or Night Lords or like any of those. So,
Like they're
and
very
that's
much, yeah, they're very
kind of a
much trying
shame.
to like maintain like the original kind of some of Jess Goodwin's original imagery and stuff, which overall I like and I think is neat, but I feel things have changed a lot with what like some of the older Chaos Marines and stuff are, and the notion of what you might imagine them to look like. And so like some of the newer Death Guard models, like those I think translated a little better. Like they tried to
Mm-hmm.
get some of the older armor marks
Yeah,
incorporated a
it's true.
little, and here in this newer stuff, they just didn't even try, and
Well, and
so
it's a shame because like something like the Alpha Legion or probably the Iron Warriors, like I doubt they will never see models or something that
right.
fits with them, other than some of the Forge World Horus Heresy stuff, which a lot of that's kind of garbage,
Yeah,
unless it's
unless they somehow
the
decide
characters.
they want to release like a new codex or something, like Codex Honor and Warriors or something. But they probably won't because they probably wouldn't be that different than. But yeah, so I guess all of this is to say, I guess a lot of these newer Black Legion esque models, if you were to say they'd represent anything, it would just represent like the Renegades or the slightly newer devotees of chaos, like
Yeah.
and it's fine, I guess. It's
One
just
thing that's kind of is only partially related, just relationship to all these different uh, trader legions and whatnot. Um, on the 40K's podcast Voxcast this week, they had an interview with Max Fillet, so their first interview with one of the heavy metal painters,
mm-hmm.
and he talked a little bit about how I think they kind of went back and reconsidered and reconsidered the paint schemes for most of the legions and stuff, and he had suggested he was excited about trying to sort of revisit the Alpha Legion and such. So I'm kind of excited to see more pictures from the Codex, or to see maybe if the heavy metal team did paint some of the legions, like
I
color
thought there
schemes
were
on some of the new models. I think they showed maybe one Alpha Legion dude with a plasma gun or
yeah, I think they
something
have.
somewhere. Not entirely sure where it is, but so I feel that might be kind of exciting to see some of that. But I think it could have been shown on like what's coming up for pre-order this coming weekend. That post that they always show on Sundays.
Oh, I'll look for it. Does that have a
But
particular name?
I
Pre-order preview maybe.
that's probably it. But so
Yeah,
chaos, yeah,
yeah, there it is.
it has a very interesting look because as you were saying with the renegades, Adam, I think that is true. Like, cause what did they call them? There was like a smaller codex called like the
Mm,
Crimson
Crimson
Tide,
Slaughter. I think it
yeah,
was Crimson Slaughter.
them, and like they're all like mutated shit and whatever. And I kind of feel like a lot of chaos is fitting towards that. Like they're either this sort of baroque looking horns and stuff, or fleshy mutated beasts,
hmm
which none of which I think fit that well. But yeah, I feel what you have some
Yeah.
pictures up of some of the different legions trying to paint them in their respective color schemes, like
If
a
that's the
Night
new
Lord.
Alpha Legion, that's not that interesting.
I mean, it looks fine, but I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
that wide stance, dumb looking backpack, gigantic plasma rifle, all of which sort of make it less cool than it could be.
Yeah, I don't like
But
it.
interestingly, looking at those models there, and I guess it's a little bit just how the breastplate on that Night Lord is, but like you can kind of see some effort at a torso there.
Yeah, I think it's better. It is better than like the
But
older.
so that suggests that there's has been some effort, which is good. But I guess all of it, and this is just a general Space Marine thing, but I feel all of it is undermined slightly by how gigantic their heads are and how little of their neck you see. And I mean that, but I
Yeah,
feel if his head was seated a little bit higher, it would balance that um,
it would.
Night Lord out a little bit better. Because now, because when you see the head like that, you think of like a normal human anatomy.
But I mean, GW anatomy's just fucked. Like
Yeah,
people
and all
often.
because, but I guess what also makes it like you're like, oh, well, it's a really thick, lots of armor in that head or whatever. So like that's why it's fine. But then that doesn't really translate to the rest of him because like his waist is really thin. The the
Mhm.
arm armor and leg armor must also be pretty thin
Well, I
if
mean, the
like a
Alpha
muscular
Legion.
arm fits in there,
I mean, the
you
Alpha
know?
Legion guy in that same picture, like you can see his head there, and it's huge.
Yeah, it's true.
So, yeah. I don't know. I feel people when they're talking about like human anatomy will often, depending on like the type of depiction and stuff you want, you often will refer to things as like, oh, there's so many heads tall. And, like I feel I don't know what would be like most realistic, but I feel it's maybe like more like 6 or 7 heads tall for like a person. And like I feel in
Hmm.
the heroic scale that uses, it's like a lot, it's less. So maybe they're like 5 heads tall, and
Yeah,
then they
yeah.
have their head. And I guess that's how they represent most of their stuff, and it ends up looking a little wonky at times. Some obviously a lot worse than others.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. I mean, even though these are clearly better than the previous versions, like better detailed, crisper lines, cuts, all that stuff, you still look, to me, I still look at it and I see like, well, it kind of looks the same. And they didn't change the major things that would make me happy. But I really do think it would be interesting to have one or two of them and just like raise the head a little bit and see how if that helps. But with that said, I don't really want to spend $70 to buy a box, assemble one, and then put the kit away for.
Yeah, so Ward Sylvania, yeah, Miggs's take on the Alpha Legion, particularly his newer Alpha Legion army, I feel does a pretty good job of representing the Alpha Legion. And they primarily use like the Primaris Marines with some minor modifications here and there. And
Yeah, it's
then,
certainly my favorite take on
yeah.
just like kind of the dusty, worn look, but nothing about them's overtly chaos, which I think is neat. And honestly, I feel multiple of the Chaos Legions would probably be better suited that way, like even like the
Well, so
Iron Warriors and stuff.
I mean, with one of the friend, I was talking a little bit earlier this week with one of our friends, who his name's Brad. He's been on our podcast a few times. We were talking about like just the Black Legion in general and sort of discussing like when you think of like say a Black Legion Space Marine, like what do you think of? And to me, like at least, and I mean maybe this isn't actually true, but to me I always sort of thought of like an ancient Space Marine that each one is probably very much an individual with their own thoughts and ideals, and like they're not necessarily tied to like the chaos gods and stuff. Like to
Hmm.
me it's sort of just I almost envision like one of the like fallen dark angel space marines that like doesn't necessarily think they did anything wrong.
Yeah,
um and that's obviously not what they are, I guess, but
like this is more just caricatured evil guys.
yeah.
But yeah, War of Sylvania, the Chaos do desperately need Primaris treatment. And
Well,
I
and
guess
so
the fact that because of how Primaris were released and made them a separate thing rather than just making better Space Marines, they kind of slightly forced their hand into like, well, we can't make them look like Primaris, so let's just like, what can we do to keep them distant from the Primaris look? Well, let's just keep them looking shitty.
Yeah, I mean they look a lot better than the older plastic Chaos Space Marines, but
Like so much better.
and some of them, depending on how you glue their arms on, their arms look like they're too far away from their body too. But well, whatever. And so I think the thing that probably shocked and disappointed me the most. Let's see if we can find it. Where there's been a single picture, as far as I'm aware, of the new plastic Chaos Space Marines, Space Marine Terminators, rather. And I know people were excited to see these, and hell, I was excited to see them, particularly when, before they did any of this, they showed a really big, imposing, and largely great-looking new model of Abaddon. And I know we had some criticism saying that we thought maybe it looked as if his torso and stuff was a little too small. And, like, I mean, here we're looking at, like, a larger picture of him with some other Chaos Space Marines and stuff. And at least from this angle, it doesn't really look as... It looks like he has a torso. And I know there was also, like, a... Was it a Voxcast episode or, like, a... On there...
There was a little interview with Seb Herbert and Jess Goodwin talking about stuff, and supposedly Abaddon, it was sculpted such that you kind of layer his armor plates on top of his body such that you can actually see his anatomy underneath. And Seb was talking about how one of the things he really wanted to do with the model was to like make sure like I'm not a human, but like a superhuman form fit in that armor. And like it is so apparent that he at least attempted that when you see like his arms are in a position that it might fit. And like who knew by lowering the arms like below your ears, it could still look like a Terminator. Like,
well, yeah, so they showed Abaddon that largely looked great, where they fixed a lot of the age-old Terminator issues. It's like, you know what, that's great. Like, this gives me a lot of hope that if and when they revisit the
actually, I'll be
Chaos
right back.
Terminators, they're gonna be better. Like, they'll at least try and lower their arm placement. Maybe, just maybe, give them slightly more of a torso. Like, not a full torso. Like, I understand Chaos Space Marines, when they joined the Ruinous Powers, they lost their torso. I understand that. I can't get behind it fully, but I can understand it. And then this week they showed the first image of the Terminators, and well, here they are, and they're all fucked up. They.
I like can't believe. Like, I mean, admittedly,
they
like,
look
right
a
when you
lot
see
better.
them,
They look good. They look pretty good. Like,
they're not really over the top.
Overall, I like them. They look pretty good. But Jesus, like, come on. Like, their arm attachment is so bad.
Like, look at the champion up there, like with the bare heads. Like, you know exactly where his neck is, and his neck should go partially down into that breastplate, meaning that like, oh my God, it's bad. But then worse than even the lack of the torso, like you said, like the arms seem like they're maybe even higher than they used to be. Like, what the fuck? How could they do that? Like, I just don't understand it. It's like, I mean, I know Games Workshop, they're like design team, sculpting team and such. They have to talk to one another and come up with prompts or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like when seeing stuff like this, it kind of seems like maybe they don't. Like, how could they have even a whole video of Jess Goodwin of all people and Seb Herbert talking about how like, yeah, like we wanted to do this anatomy right on this model. And like that was clearly a focus of like the centerpiece of all chaos. And then for them to turn around and have other people on the team, presumably at around the same time, be working on this and make Terminators and not do that even in the slightest.
I mean,
Like,
maybe they were made at vastly different times, and it's like
yeah, I mean, that's true.
whatever.
They could be.
But
It still doesn't change the fact that it just looks like. I mean, I was so happy when seeing. I guess maybe it's Abaddon. I think that's how GW pronounces it. But when I saw Abaddon, I was like, wow, like maybe this means there'll be better Terminators in the future. Like that would be great. Like I used to play with a Deathwing army, and like I would love to have some Deathwing again.
well, so this is a great indication. If they remake Space Marine Terminators, they're gonna be terrible. Well, they'll
Like
be
why?
better.
Like yeah, why
They'll
even
be
bother?
yeah, they'll be better than they are currently. Like the detailing will be a little better. Some of the stuff might be a little better, but they'll overall be about the same. No, Lord Sylvania, it's true. I feel Abaddon, he is going to be a wonderful model for conversions and stuff, and I think we will see tons and tons of people going to that model to try and convert to like a cool like Chaos or just Loyalist Marine in Terminator armor for like a leader or something. Like everyone's gonna do it. We might even do one of
Though
these
it looks like
conversions.
it's gonna be really expensive though.
Has to
Like
be.
it's like 45 pounds, and if GW just used like the conversion rate, that it would be okay. But since they like jack up the price by like 20 to 30% in America and otherwise, like it's going to be over $60 for a single model, and that's a little bit hard to swing, I feel.
But will swing.
Yeah, it's,
No, everyone's still gonna buy it. Which I guess maybe
but the
adds
question is,
sort of a
will we
problem.
buy it though?
Yeah, I don't know. We buy so much of their stuff anyway.
I
Like,
mean, I would like to. I guess this weekend we'll be able to see the sprues and such, and if like literally the armor you can layer it on like that, I feel it would be even just a good point of reference because it would
yeah.
be almost like the first GW like Space Marine-ish model that kind of explored that and looked at that. So I think, yeah, well, yeah. I'm looking at these Terminators more like the one with the Reaper autocannon, like his power fist looks so bad. Like, how did they make the power fist look dumber?
Let me look
Like,
at it a little better. Which one? The one oh, fuck, that looks bad. And it's like he's
it's like
swinging it
out so
back. Like,
far. Which, admittedly, their leg poses are better. They're less like I'm trying to do a split,
they're all
and
actually pretty good. The legs are.
so that's good. So I mean,
Well,
I
so
think
the
you
first
could.
thing that I saw looking at these Marine or these Terminators was okay. Their legs look pretty good. Their bodies look a little broader,
Mm-hmm.
and the arms are awful. So, I think you might be able to like raise the body up, like had like a spacer or something to give it more of a torso, and then by doing that you'd have plenty of room to like lower the arms and maybe even like attach them a little closer to the size of the body, and I think that would be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I feel ultimately like we would if we would want stuff like this, we'd be converting them anyway. Like it'd be hard to be completely satisfied with just a GW model as is. But with that said, it's disappointing to see what these are.
Particularly
Um,
when they like lauded Abaddon and he was so
yeah,
good.
when they changed stuff. One thing, the combi weapons look probably better than they used to, but still pretty pathetic. Like there's the flamer combi weapon with like the
It's pretty
fuel
bad.
tank like in the way of
Yeah,
shooting with it, kind of.
it's pretty bad.
The combi melta thing is like the older heresy sort of style melta though.
Hmm.
That's the only heresy style thing there though.
And it's interesting, like the Combi bolters, they also have like box magazines, but then they also look like they have chain, like belt fed or something. They're just weird. It's hard to
Dumb
tell from this.
design.
It's hard to tell. But
Major disappointment.
yeah, so they're a huge disappointment. But I mean, I like aspects of them. Like their legs do look pretty good, and I think their bodies look good. The like sergeant's head looks pretty cool to me. And even their trophy poles and stuff look pretty good. Like I feel their design is a little more functional and Spartan, and
The
probably
skulls are pretty large. I guess they're Space Marine skulls.
at least, yeah. Well, they would. Why would they put anything other than a space marine? Those are probably skulls of like loyalist marines from like 10,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, it just chaos. When I first saw some of this stuff, maybe I was a little angrier than I am now, but it sort of like got me kind of commenting like, well, chaos has always been the worst looking army in Warhammer 40,000, and it will still always be the worst looking army. They're never going to get away from that.
Yeah, it seems like a little hyperbole, but I guess really upon reflection, I mean, not even really. I think it's just the truth.
I mean, I feel they're like probably like one of the most important armies, and I don't. At least in my opinion, they don't really ever quite achieve what they need to achieve. Except for maybe the Abaddon model. He's pretty close.
Yeah.
He's pretty close. But at least I will say these, I think they look significantly better than like the comical looking Death Guard. They're a little more serious. There's less ornamentation and stuff.
At least they're not covered in fleshy growths. Like they didn't let's make Terminators into like Kell brutes, like that sort of thing. So
yeah.
So I don't know. It just
yeah, bad. So I guess even despite all that complaining and stuff, I feel the models and stuff they've shown are they're a pretty big improvement from the older Chaos stuff.
We could go back and look at the picture of the tactical squad, the Chaos tactical squad, because I felt there were some interesting aspects of it that they're so like or Chaos obviously has this belt fed sort of thing with their weapons that's always pretty stupid, but it's interesting that for the Chaos tactical squad here they did some more of that and kind of tried to make at least a little more sense, and that is interesting.
Yeah, I mean it does, or at least there are a few where the
he's sort of helping and feeding the chain of bolts through, like, so that's at least is somewhat neat that's at least a slight effort, but as I think we talked about previously, like that's not how a belt fed gun would work. Like it wouldn't go up through a magazine well. Like it's clearly a weapon designed to hold a magazine, not a belt fed. Like you couldn't load that, so it's still dumb, but at least they attempted to make it like now with that belt, like you could probably like shoot for like 2 seconds and still have some like ammunition left, like maybe a round or two,
longer.
Unlike less than a second and all his ammunition's gone, so like it's a bit better.
Well,
and there's one also
the pistols. Their pistols have that. Yeah, that's rough.
Like almost all of them don't have magazines based on this, so like that's a shame. I guess you have to have an old tactical squad lying around, or buy some Primaris. I guess if you'd buy a Primaris box, there are all those bolters that are unusable
Mm-hmm.
that you could use those to try to fix these.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Lord Sylvania. I too dream of a day that GW would make Chaos Trader Marines that captured some of the elements that Dan Abnett would in some of his novels, like in, I guess,
Yeah,
Pariah.
that's true.
There was that crazy Emperor's Children
Mm-hmm.
character, and just in all of the novels, does a great job of kind of conveying the visceral horror of these space marines and how they aren't human. And these just don't, they don't do that. They just kind of look like somewhat comical, caricatured evil people.
Yeah, they're rough. It's rough.
I mean, but as I said, they're still better than what they had been, so that's something, but
Yeah, I
it's not
mean,
enough to make me care.
needless to say, we're not rushing out to start a new Chaos Army
No.
or even make a kill team. But maybe I'll try and convert a Black Legion Space Marine, a single one, to try and make him cool.
We should really try to convert a single Alpha Legion and paint him and
I
show
mean
a
that
rendition
too.
of what.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of work that could be done to make a cool Alpha Legion Marine, and a lot of people have done a lot of things that I think have been really good and are pretty close to what how I
Hmm.
would envision one. But I feel the biggest thing is like you'd have to completely remake all their weapons because none of the stuff GW has made captures any of what needs to be captured for the Alpha Legion, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel I'd want to do that with any Space Marine that I made, so that maybe that's not saying
Well, I
much.
think we're going to be getting some of the Shadows paired Primaris models, so we can probably try to convert one or some into something.
Yeah, so it's bad. The whole fact that, like in Warhammer 40,000, War of Sylvania, that you play with armies, like, really lessens the effect of a lot of the stuff. And
Yeah, when in like Warhammer 40,000, like there's the general, like the Marine equivalent stat line. Like half the armies are just this generic Marine equivalent stat line. The baseline of the game is a Space Marine, not a human, such that.
well, so what they should, I almost feel like I still really question, like, why haven't they made a codex for, like, Renegade, like, Imperial Guard? Like, that's where they should focus that on, have, like, legions and legions of corrupted humans, and then you would have a handful of much larger Chaos Space Marines in the
Yeah, I mean the
force.
Legion of the Damned army list from the
The Eye of
old
Terror.
since retconned Eye of Terror Codex had that.
I feel that's like what they need to do because then you could really easily make a really big contrast between the
Hmm.
lowly fucked up humans and these
Well, I mean,
ancient
it looks like it.
monstrosities.
I mean, I feel there's a possibility that that could happen now. Blackstone Fortress has shown that Trader Guard are a thing in the universe, despite little evidence of it otherwise,
Yeah.
other than Dan
Um
Abnett books.
so I feel
Um,
like that is something you could probably do. Like if you were trying to make like a cool chaos kill team or something, I'm sure you couldn't do it rule wise because you can't do anything, but you'd make something where you'd have like a single chaos space marine and then a bunch of renegade guard.
the humble human henchman.
That's true. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Other stuff has been revealed. They still keep drip feeding Sisters of Battle information that's so slow, the drip feed, that like it makes the models and things seem worse than they probably actually are.
that's true. Or is it? I know there's.
You're right, World Sylvania, that the original Inquisitor game with Artemis and stuff, that certainly did a rather nice job of kind of conveying how large and powerful a Space Marine was in relationship to others.
Do we want to talk about the sister stuff that they showed?
I mean, they showed so little, it's like hard to know
Oh yeah, I
shit.
mean they showed a bunch of 3D renders that
Don't matter.
yeah, it's hard to know like the actual models how
Well,
close will they look to this, how
like
not
with
close.
just seeing that part of the torso, like it's not even the whole torso. Like you don't see the back, so like the one torso, like it based on part of that's like the gorget or whatever. I'm kind of like, is the top half of her torso not covered with armor? Like,
I just assumed it was like that was how it was cut for the sprue and like it sort of slots in all weird.
yeah. Well,
But
I
then
guess
that
it just,
doesn't look
but
like here. Huh?
it looks different for like the other torso they showed. So it just makes sound like what's going on there, and it doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. It's just I don't like, why do they keep showing so little that I feel, if anything, it just leads to people saying it looks bad, when if they probably just showed like more of the model, people would be like, oh, this is really cool, actually.
The
Well,
best
actually, I
thing they
guess,
showed was the holster for the chainsword. That's my favorite part.
yeah, no,
The
the scabbard
chainswords are
thing is
too
cool.
big though. Like it would have been way cooler if it was a lot smaller, but don't they're not
Well,
gonna
so
do
it might be good for like a Primaris or something to have like a leather scabbard like that. I mean, it would still be a big sword on a Primaris, I'm sure, but
that.
it
Yeah.
it would fit better. Yeah, you're right. They probably, if they showed all that, it would run out too fast. But yeah, I don't know. It seems, yeah, their marketing is just questionable, like such that then also people just like make fun of the models, like, oh, that's those skulls on there. Look, the detail isn't good, or the, like all this and that. But in actuality, the detail is good. It's just you're looking at that part of a
It's
torso at
huge.
like
Yeah.
10 times bigger than it's actually going to be. And
Yeah.
if they showed it within the context of not even the whole model, but just like the entire torso with like where the arms are attaching or something,
Yeah, people would
it
be
would.
commending it like how like look at the detail on that.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know. The way they do this marketing doesn't do them any favors. Well, yeah, because they
No.
did it and showed the faces, some of the female faces, and people are like, "Oh, those look so terrible. The noses are bad. All this bad." And I feel, yeah, if it was just in the context of more of the model, it
Or
would have looked
actually one
better.
of the like if it was
The
one of the
actual
plastic
plastic
heads,
ones
like
and not the
I
rendered, it
don't
would
think
look
anyone
better.
has ever been happy or now that people showing renders with Kickstarters and all this other shit, people are more used to seeing renders, but like I don't think anyone ever wants to see the renders because it's like that's not what the models look like. So no, yeah, I thought the faces were good. I liked them.
I think they're good too, and there was diversity, but it's just like I feel
Yeah, I mean they
if
weren't just like
GW
the
would have,
like you talk, Eric.
or if GW would have put those faces in relationship to these torsos or something like, and weren't so gigantic, like just focusing on the face, I think people would have thought they were good. Like I think they're good, and like to get a print to get it actually to print out and realize those details. Like you at this scale and size, you probably do have to exaggerate stuff at least a little bit, and it's sort of minimized when it's actually printed. So I don't know. Yeah, I just feel like GW is presenting different pieces of this so slowly that it's almost doing them a disservice, and it's making things look worse than it actually is. Like seeing them pulled apart like this doesn't make them look good when I think in fact they probably are pretty good.
Yeah, I think
And
they
it's just
are.
like
No, the faces were good, and they weren't also just like, yeah, they didn't all look the same. They weren't like the what at least people typically think of as like the perfect, like beautiful female face or whatever, which I think is good. Like that's what they should look different. They should look scarred. Their ages should be different. Like,
mm-hmm.
and so I guess yeah, that's sort of some of those ideas are what I've been trying to explore at least a little with like sisters, the Sister of Sigmar warband that I've been making for Mordheim. But and if they make all the heads that they showed renders for the sisters, and make a whole lot more, like that'll be a great service for hobbyists and stuff for converting
Mm-hmm.
like female models. No, it's true. They marketing and stuff for GW has just changed so much over the years. Also, even before the Sisters of Battle stuff here, like they had the Chaos rumor engine or whatever, and I know people with that. I think it probably went on for over a month or something of just showing random shit. And I think people were initially really excited about it.
I think
But
it
then
was at
after
least 2 weeks, maybe three.
but after a while, once you saw another fucking hand, it like, yeah, it looks pretty good. It's like you don't care anymore.
No,
Um,
yeah, I quickly stopped caring.
yeah, I certainly did. Like whatever.
And hell, now they finally showed like a lot of those are from the terrible looking Terminators. I
Yeah,
didn't care then, and I guess I still don't care now.
yeah. For the chaos stuff, they did a terrible job for the chaos stuff. Like it just wasn't interesting at all. I think for the sisters, it's a little different because some of the stuff they're showing, it's not all. It doesn't just look exactly the same as some of the other
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I mean, some of it certainly does, but then they're also showing like ruined like pillars and like little doves holding parchments and shit. So
And
it's
the
a
little
little more
speaker
interesting.
thing, like that stuff's cool. Like if they do more stuff like this, that will ultimately be pretty neat. And it does suggest that there'll be lots of little kind of neat, interesting details and such, which I think will be cool. And people will love using them for conversions and things. Like this is exactly the sort of grim dark I think a lot of people go wild over.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't know. I guess it seems like every week now they're doing one of these Sisters of Battle bulletins. So maybe next week they'll finally do something. I mean, last week was particularly forgettable, which they just showed a couple like symbols, like sketches of symbols and such,
And I mean,
which I mean are
they're
somewhat
cool.
interesting, but by itself, like it's hard to be that excited about it. I feel they could have put that and this particular post together and
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think people would have been more excited like wow they're actually showing us stuff, but I don't know, we'll see. I mean, admittedly, if they would have shown like a full model or whatever, the way GW has tended to do this, like if they show a squad or whatever, it's going to be released within a month, so like I guess they don't want to do that, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Now I feel the Sisters of Battle really, they will be a very important release for Games Workshop. Um, and I think overall that I think they're going to do a pretty good job with them. They're obviously not going to get everything quite right, at least in our opinion, but it's very clear that they're making a lot of efforts to improve many of the aspects of like the range and just what they represent in general.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
About
I'm looking
females,
forward
they
to it.
released it. They showed a new new store exclusive female Stormcast model that looks
Pretty rough.
pretty pretty rough. Yeah.
Pretty rough. I
I hate the model, man.
it's bad. Like, and I guess the what makes it so bad is just how off the proportions are. They're so off. Like her
I mean,
head looks pretty good to me, but that's about it.
it looks like the head looks okay, but then she kind of looks like doesn't have enough of a neck, at least with where the arms are positioned, the gigantic arms. Um,
I think she has like the neck. I think the neck's fine. The arms are probably too big. But the
yeah, it's
main
probably more
thing
that
is
they're
the
too
fucking
big.
legs. Those fucking legs. Like, Jesus,
I
they're
feel if you cut
huge.
off the legs from the legs up, it looks maybe not cool, but it looks fine. But the legs, yeah, they're so gigantic. It looks like it's just a different model, or that someone in the digital sculpting software like ZBrush or whatever, like sculpted some legs and then decided like, hey, how does this look, guys? Ah, it looks really nice. As like a gag, why don't you like increase the size of the legs by like three times, two or three times? Like, yeah, okay. Like, yeah, let's just keep it that way. And I mean, admittedly, a lot of the female Stormcast, like the first one that was shown through Night Vault, or no, I guess it was just Shadespire, kind of had this look that the same sort of weird look that the torso was made more slender and such to like show like it's a female, but the legs, while still more slender than the males, were still like really large, such that they were really, really bottom heavy in an odd way. And this, I feel, just
This dials it up
exacerbates
even
that even.
farther.
Just
Like,
looks bad.
what's even going on? Like, it's like I feel you could buy this model to get the head and then just throw the rest of it out.
It's just like it seems like
Or
no oversight at all for this.
how did it happen? And then yeah, you're right, Ward Sylvania. Like, why?
Yeah, who even gives a fuck? Like
Like, why
another
can't they
dumbass
show
Stormcast.
like, or like make like a female like barbarian or something? They've been making lots of them. Like, make another one of them. Make it cool. Like, I want the new female models to be great.
I guess Stormcast sell, although maybe they don't. Maybe the GW is just trying to convince us that they sell.
It could be
I
that.
mean, Space Marines certainly sell.
I sort of think the Stormcast sell at least a little. They
I
like
mean,
almost have to.
when 70% of all the models released are Stormcast, they
Yeah, like they just keep releasing new things, like, and like they have to. Yeah, that's why. Yeah. Um. And I almost feel like the original Stormcast models were probably the nicest. And every so
some of
often you
the
have a
I mean, I
release
think
that's
some of the
good.
new the new Stormcast, which are like the sorcerer sort of ones, they
Not the
had more
sorcerer ones.
female they had more female Stormcasts in there, and I think they look better than like this female. I mean, I guess this is probably a
What are these
Liberator.
called? The Sequitors. They, I think, look pretty good.
Yeah, so I
Um,
think they look a little bit better. So I don't know. I feel,
why do we
but
have these, you ask? We just got them so we could get the female heads. And the male heads are good too, actually. So, I don't know if... I don't
nothing
really...
else
Yeah,
is
I don't
good
think we
though.
could use anything else from them. Yeah, I really don't, actually. But the heads are good. And you can tell, even, like, looking at these, like, their proportions are... They're weird. They're not right. But they're not... They're not the level of bad that we're seeing in this exclusive model. And they really look like, why are they all standing up on shit? Why?
Honestly, one of the best parts of the model, I think the orc head looks kind of nice.
The orchid does look nice.
Looks better than like anything else on the model. So that's something.
Well, I think her head looks good.
Yeah, it does. It does.
It's just...
But it's just with everything else, it all fits together. And like, God,
It's rough.
yeah, it's just not. It's just not good.
But yeah, that orchid, that's good. Looks good. I like it. Yeah, so... Yeah, wow. Pretty cool.
Yep. Pretty cool.
I don't even... So I don't know. I think we've complained enough about the
Yeah, I
models
think
and
you're right.
stuff. Do we want to talk a little bit about like what we're actually working on or anything like that to kind of change things up a little bit? I
Yeah.
guess, um, I've actually been playing around with trying to make a conversion and convert the Blackstone Fortress Eldar Ranger and try and pretty quickly convert the model and try and improve some of the aspects of the model. Not everything, because I feel if I really wanted to like really fix it, I'd have to like I'd have to really change a lot. But in this case, making some modifications with like her rifle and stuff like that. Eric might be gone. Eric, you're gone. But so here's a picture of the start of the work that I've been doing. And so at least currently the main focus of it is to drastically reduce the size of the rifle. And I've done a lot of that work now. I cut a lot of it off. I need to add a different scope to it. I have to re-sculpt some of the stuff of the barrel, like the muzzle shroud at the front. It needs to be reshaped a little to look more like the original. I might have to... The stock on the weapon's huge. I might have to change around that a little. But it's at least coming along nicely. I was thinking I was going to replace her hand holding the knife, completely replace the hand, but after spending a while looking around through all the models and stuff that I have, I don't think I really have another hand that is the same size as her hands. So I think I'm going to have to keep that hand of hers and maybe change the angling of it slightly and just give her a much, much smaller dagger. Or whatever that is. That's more of a sword. Hey, Eric. Are you back?
Yeah, my computer crashed, as you probably suspected.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah, so Eric, I was just talking about this Eldar Ranger conversion that I was working on.
Okay.
and just kind of like some of the work that I've done on the rifle. So yeah, I have to continue detailing that, adding the scope and stuff like that. And then I have to do something about her dumb looking dagger. Or it's not a dagger.
Yeah, it sure shit isn't dagger.
So I don't actually have any of the plastic Sisters of Silence. Um, the closest hands that are is similar in size to these are the Escher, the plastic Necromunda Escher gangs. They're pretty close. But all of the hands, they aren't really any better than this. They're still all like clutching things or like holding daggers or something. So it's not really any better than this. And then the Rogue Trader Kill Team set, the like some of the female models and stuff with that, they have smaller hands too, but none of them are really necessarily better or on a more interesting like posing than hers. So like I don't really think they're super suitable. The Deloc Necromunda models, they're pretty close to like the little hands clutching the smaller daggers are pretty close in size. They're still a little larger though. So I've looked through a lot of stuff. Yeah, I don't. Maybe I should. I forget exactly what yours look like. But regardless, her hands are small, and and they're quite a bit smaller than a lot of the other Games Workshop stuff. So like finding something else that's suitable or at least close is hard. But I don't know. It's going like this model is supposed to be like one of our conversion corner posts. So it's supposed to be a conversion that doesn't take me like 15 hours or some shit. So I'm trying to work quickly, and I'm not gonna fix all of the things that I find lacking in the model, but oh, Eric, you're holding up one of the little wraiths you're working on for Mordheim?
Yeah, I've been working on this little dude, which I'm sure the picture quality is garbage, um, but it's one of the little wraiths. I just put in used a pin vise to put in a whole bunch of nails and such.
He looks good. I just put up. You had sent the picture earlier.
It was it's not a very good image, but it's what I've been working on. And
it's a creepy face they have there.
Older pink cars.
Yeah.
Not the oldest birdish looking blob ones, but
yeah.
So yeah, I've been kind of working on that. So I think he's relatively, or he, she, it, whatever it is relatively close to being done. I have to pin it onto the base, 2 pins. We'll need to do some sculpting to make it fit against it better, but it's going pretty well. So
yeah, so Ward Sylvania, I'm looking at the Ranger that you converted, and like that looks pretty good. The hand you chose it's pretty good. It's like about probably what you would have wanted. The size looks pretty convincingly the same as the other one. So wherever you got that, you did a good job. Yeah, like that's really good.
What do you know where it was gotten from?
I think he said he doesn't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was looking through any conceivable model that I thought I had or thought would work, and I've not found something that works well. And so yeah, it could be that, because yeah, I have not really worked with the Sisters of Silence much, so I don't have a great sense of their scale and if they're actually smaller. I think they are, but I just have to go and try and find some of them.
Yeah, I feel they would be a worthwhile set of models. I mean, they're not awesome, particularly awesome models, but they they could be useful. I mean, I guess they have bolters, smaller bolters, right?
I think they do, and those might be good for Space Marines and stuff.
Yeah, so that yeah, so that's true too. So
Yeah, Wartsvania, you're that Eldar Ranger, best one I've seen. It's great.
yeah, certainly the best that I've seen too.
She's not shooting her rifle. Love it. It's so good. Looks so much better. And her dagger is better. It's good.
Yeah, wow, that is a much better dagger. Good God. Yeah, damn. And I feel those are small things that I guess most people wouldn't even notice, but it helps. It makes it not so visually jarring.
I'm thinking I might also like her like little hood or whatever. She has like it is super long, like and flowing. Like I
Hmm.
question why is it so long? I mean, it looks kind of cool, but I might trim it down a little bit. I can't.
Yeah,
I'm really hoping when we post pictures of her, people will comment about how their rifle's too small. That's what I'm looking for. I should
be
probably
good.
make it even smaller than what I'm doing now to really push the envelope. But um,
Yeah, well.
I mean, I think in terms of like those like Eldar sniper rifles and stuff, hers is certainly the nicest one Games Workshop has made. It's big,
Yeah.
but it's not like the original like Metal Ranger big. And like the scope looks cooler than like a lot of the other stuff. Like it's
Yeah, it's
nice
true.
looking. Um,
It's true.
but like you have, I just feel bad for her. Like if she's running around in that Blackstone Fortress and stuff, I guess she has that phase crystal or whatever. So like
That's so she
maybe,
can
yeah, so that she can,
phase a rifle through
yeah.
shit.
So if she swings it around and like hits a wall or something, it's okay. She's got it covered.
Makes sense. That's why they have it.
I cut off the phase crystal too because I thought it looked weird hanging from her like
Yeah.
in front of her like crotch. So I don't know. Like maybe I'll like reattach that somewhere or something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Maybe we should call this a night soon.
Well, so yeah, I think so. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like I was considering actually, I haven't done it yet. I was considering cutting off her scabbard and stuff and replacing it with something because it's huge. But I sort of like the one you have. I mean, it doesn't really look that Eldar like, but I mean, this Ranger is obviously way out of. They're out doing their own thing, fighting on probably hundreds of like battlefields and stuff. So for all we know, she picked it up from like some other like warrior or something
Hmm.
that she actually respected or something. So I think it actually works pretty well with the character and maybe like what they're trying to represent. So like I don't know, I think it looks good. And since it's smaller, it looks even better.
Yeah.
Um and it just it sort of adds to this whole nature that there is some like at least even if it's small a narrative in the model itself. So I think it looks nice. And yeah, maybe I'll just I do like the look of the scabbard and everything, but maybe I'll just cut it down a bunch to make it smaller. Because I mean, it's not that is more. It's more like a sword.
Yeah. It's
Um,
true.
but yeah, so hopefully I'll finish whatever work that I do on this model. I'll finish it sometime this month, and we'll have a post about it. And then this is actually the model that when we've been playing Blackstone Fortress. That's the model that I've been using. I don't even know
He's
how.
good.
Yeah, I don't even know how I started playing as her, but she's good. I'm glad we're bringing her along on the adventures. Her sniper rifle's great.
Yeah, it's true.
Um, yeah.
We might want to call this a close soon, but
Yeah, we probably
right
should.
before we do, it might be worth saying that the 28 magazine is finally soon here.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You may have
Um,
noticed, you may have seen stuff about it posted recently that it was coming soon. We can confirm that it is coming soon. So I feel that's something to look forward to. There's a lot of nice articles, and I feel it will be what people have been kind of hoping for it. Yeah, so I'll just say this: it doesn't mean 3 weeks or months or something. So
and like I don't. Are we not? We're probably not supposed to say that much about it.
I don't know if we're supposed to say or not. Well, I
I
mean,
don't
I
know. No
basically
one's
just
gonna
told
watch
people.
this, but like the whole thing is like, it's a big magazine. It's like 140 pages, so there are lots of articles in it by like tons of different people focusing on all sorts of different stuff. Like the thing is, it's pretty much done. It's ready. Like so, I'm well. I don't actually know. I'm pretty sure the 3 means 3 days.
It does mean that.
Okay, so it does. So it's actually here.
Yeah, it does mean that. But yeah, it's been coming soon for
Yeah,
yeah,
but
practically
I
a
mean,
year.
and I think I'm based on like some of the initial planning and stuff. I think just the whole scope of it like expanded, and they got more and more people to contribute articles and stuff to it. So I mean, it's big. It's gonna take you a while to read through it.
Hmm.
So I think people are gonna really be excited about it.
Yeah, just in time for Adepticon.
Yeah. Yeah. So, no, it should be good. Like I read a bunch of the articles in it, but certainly not even close to all of them. So we have a lot of reading ahead of us, and that's good. I
Yeah,
feel
no,
it's
it's true.
yeah. So look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, shit. Is Adepticon this?
We did. So we one of the articles in the issue is from us.
Yeah, and yeah, one of the articles, and we edited a bunch of the stuff, like proofread a bunch of the articles and such and whatnot. So
Oh, it's so Adepticon's next weekend. We really have to go to Adepticon, Eric, sometime.
yeah, I feel
Um,
every year we're like we should do it next year, and somehow don't end up doing it.
so I guess we
So
should, yeah.
yeah, maybe next year. I mean, I kind of feel like if we weren't doing the whole Finland thing for Mordheim 28, maybe we would have made more of a focus on it because I feel,
I don't know.
but
I think we just need to decide that we're gonna go to Adepticon and then try and coordinate with people who are going there to like participate and stuff.
because I feel so many cool people are going to it, like yourself, or
Yeah,
Sylvania, that I feel it would be an awesome opportunity to meet a whole bunch of new people, as well as see some of our like other people are already have played some games with and such. Like I feel I don't know why we have been missing it for so many years when it's like pretty close, all
yeah.
things considered.
Oh yeah. So the Ink 28 magazine is very much what I think a lot of the people, at least in this community, wanted or would like to see.
Yeah.
um, Focused around all the different aspects of the hobby and everything. So it's great.
I mean, there are a lot of different people have stuff in here in it.
Yeah. So it's gonna be great. Well, I guess thanks for joining us, Wardsylvania. Like based on all the based on
Uh,
how much of a shit show tonight has been for me with like work and everything, didn't think we were actually gonna actually stream anything, but your question about it convinced us that, you know what, we should get on and talk about stuff, and like I feel better about
yeah,
that stuff
agreed.
now too. So
Counting there, at least there are over 30 articles in the magazine,
hmm.
30 separate articles. So yeah, there's a lot.
Okay, yeah. So then, as soon as Adepticon ends this year, and we will try and become a part of the next one and the events. Because yeah, we're gonna do it, Eric.
Yeah, we need to do it.
um,
We need to do it.
or even if for some reason if we can't attend, we need to send models and stuff to be used in the different events. But there's no reason we couldn't attend.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no reason.
No.
All right. Oh yeah, thanks again, Ward Sylvania. Thanks
Yeah,
for keeping
thanks
us
for
company and commenting on our rambling.
yeah.
And thanks for the suggestions about maybe looking into the Sister of Silence models. Like, I'll try and see if I can wrangle up a box of them. Because
See if we can spend $50 to get a couple hands.
it'll be worth it. It'll be worth
Yeah,
it.
it'll be worth it. It's true.
Yep, thank you. And so we'll see. Like maybe we'll try and stream again sometime this week. Like I've been trying to do some more like hobby related streams, but we'll see. At the very least, we should be back next week. At roughly the same time.
Also, if we don't talk to you before then, have a great time at Adepticon, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully we can hear a little bit more how it went for you and all that stuff.
Yeah, certainly. We'd be very interested in learning about it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Until next time.
Yep. See you, everybody.